Hey y'all, Stand Up Gamer here, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I designed a new 3D printed case for the Asrock DeskMeet system. The Asrock DeskMeet is a pretty cool system in that you get a lot of cool stuff for a really good price. I bought the AM4 version for around $160, and I think right now you can get the AM5 version for about $180. When you buy the system, it comes with a motherboard with front I/O, the case, the power supply, even a CPU cooler, and Wi-Fi. So to get a working PC, all you'll need is a processor, RAM, and storage space. And if you want to make your CPU run faster, cooler, and quieter, you can also add a 120mm AIO. And if you want gaming performance, you can add a GPU that's smaller than 200mm. But GPUs of that size are either slow or they're expensive. And by adding the GPU, you lose the ability to use the 120mm AIO. And that's where you start to see the limits of the stock case. You can solve that problem by using a workbench or a conventional PC case, but with a workbench you have the issues of dust, you have the issues of safety, so like a little kid could put their hand in there, or maybe you can injure your pet if they get near it. So what was my solution? Well, of course I 3D printed my own case. And if you like to see PC mods like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And once I had a general idea of how I wanted the case to look like, I then brought it into CAD. But once I was inside the CAD, I didn't start to design the entire case altogether. The first thing I needed to figure out was the measurements for the I/O and the motherboard. So I took some measurements with a ruler and a caliper and put those into the CAD. And with that CAD data, I was then able to do some test prints. The simple test prints only accommodated for the front I/O along with the 2 extra mounting holes for this special motherboard. So before you start printing out the entire case for your DeskMeet, make sure to test out the test prints first so that it fits with your DeskMeet. But I haven't verified if it works for the AM4 or the B760 models. The Asrock DeskMeet comes in a lot of flavors, and I was able to proceed with designing the entire case. And of course, I printed out the case. And I'd be lying if I told you that all the prints went smoothly, because they didn't. I had lots of failures, wasted lots of filament, and through a lot of trial and error, I was able to print out the case. And you'll probably see throughout the video, the prints aren't perfect still, but they're good enough for the PC to work. So obviously this takes a lot of time and money to make, and you can help support these projects by giving it a super like or even becoming a Patreon member. When you download the files, you'll notice that some of the grill patterns you see on my case don't show up. And that's because the files with the grill pattern actually have multiple parts inside them. With the different parts, you're actually able to apply different settings per part, even though it's just one print. And for the parts that are going to be a grill or a vent, you need to make sure that both the top and the bottom layers do not print, so set them at 0. And then you can decide whatever grill pattern or infill you want to use for your case. For my case, I went with the honeycomb pattern. But the number that you choose is going to be dependent on your printer. My printer has a 0.6mm nozzle, so it changes the percentages. Just make sure you use a filament that can resist heat and is strong. So don't use PLA or TPU. And you might be wondering where and which parts have the grill pattern. And basically, there's a heat source near one of the panels, it likely has a grill on it. After you print out all the parts, there's very little processing. I think the hardest part is installing the heat inserts. And that's how the case is put together. It's got heat inserts and tabs. And screw holes, of course. I'll play the build montage now, but it should be pretty clear. And if it's not, leave a message in the comments. I try to read them all and be as helpful as I can. And who knows, maybe I'll do a more in-depth video about it. And with the case processed and assembled, we now have a working computer. And the first thing you're probably wondering is, how does it perform thermally? Long story short, it performs better than the stock Asrock DeskMeet configuration. Not by a whole lot, but better. Because the stock heatsink is pretty small. And the stock configuration is a little weird too. Basically, in most systems, the PSU actually draws air out, but in the case of the DeskMeet, it actually draws air in. So while the PSU is cooling itself, it then dumps its air onto the CPU. So the power supply acts as an intake fan. But again, it is cooler, and I think that's because it has nice venting and the fan. And you might be asking, well, you can put a fan in the stock configuration too. You can, but I think you lose the ability to use a GPU. So with my case design, you can use a GPU and still have an exhaust fan. That really helps. But the most important part of this mod is being able to use larger GPUs. For my system, a great option for a GPU is the RX 7600. The RX 7600 only has one power connector, which goes great with the stock PSU because it only has one power connector. And because the RX 7600 is made by AMD, it makes it a great option for making this into a Steam machine. Because for now, Steam OS only works with AMD GPUs. While there are faster GPUs with one power connector, I wanted to keep things cheap. With the GPU upgrade path settled, we can now focus on the CPU as well. If you want your CPU to run faster, cooler, and quieter, you need better cooling. And again, the stock cooler is pretty small. The case I designed allows you to use a 120mm AIO with the GPU installed. The files for this PC case are going to be linked in the description, and they're going to be for free, so you're welcome. You'll need to print out the AIO bracket and install a heat insert, then assemble and install it into the system. And now your CPU should run cooler, quieter, and faster. But you might be saying to yourself, stand-up gamer, a 120mm AIO sucks compared to a tower cooler. Well, there's really no space for a tower cooler inside here, because I still wanted to keep this PC fairly small. With the CPU figured out, you still might want more. And by more, I'm talking about a bigger, more powerful GPU. Stronger GPUs usually need more power connectors, so you'll definitely need to upgrade your power supply as well. One great option for this PC case is the RTX 3080. I've seen these go for sale on eBay for around $300, which I think is a great price. At $300, you don't get many good options when buying new. And really, the focus of this project is gaming on the cheap. With a stronger power supply and this RTX 3080, this is a gaming beast. If you're planning on upgrading your Asrock DeskMeet using my case, let me know what you're going to install inside. I really hope this can help any Asrock DeskMeet owners out there. Thanks for watching.